Hello.
Hello.
I'm a little under the weather, so deal with how ugly I look.
What's it like to be over the weather?
Oh, I don't
know. How come we don't ever say that?
I'm over the
weather.
weather.
How are you today? I am over the weather.
How does that work?
I don't know.
Are you in a balloon? You could be in a balloon.
Why are you under the weather?
Yeah. So if you're hot air ballooning,
that was a tangent.
Then somebody says, "How are you?" Then you could say, "I'm over the weather."
Or you're like 32,000 feet in the air in an airplane. I guess
yeah,
you're
that would be like a
over
cheesy
the weather.
dad joke on an airplane.
I know a few people that would do that.
We can list them.
Let's not. Oh, happy Monday. Well, maybe not so happy for Tim, but
happy Monday.
Good.
Okay.
Pray for my immune system.
Yes.
I don't want to get sick.
So last time we talked about is a time for sex. 2:05. But basically it's about scheduling sex because you should schedule it, because if you're not having it regularly, then scheduling it could solve that problem. And maybe you can have it regularly. Literally.
Pun intended.
Wow, she's punning. Horrible.
That was bad. We need a mic.
I'm working on a microphone.
We went to Portland this weekend and listened to several podcasts, and we have a podcast now in case you didn't check it out.
Oh yeah, it's HaveAMarriage on iTunes, but if you're watching this, then it would be the same exact thing. Yeah. So,
but it would sound better with a mic, so I think that's our next
I think the really cool thing is that if you went on iTunes and found our podcast and rated it and left us a comment, that would be great. You can also private message us and we'll answer those privately.
Preferably a nice comment.
Yeah, these people
you suck.
Yeah. Just horrible. All right, so we're going through the practical side of marriage. This is the 200 series of HaveAMarriage classes. And so one of the other issues that we talked about last time was scheduling sex, because usually, I will throw men under the bus, men say we're not having enough sex, and scheduling kind of solves that issue. And along with men saying we're not having enough sex, women usually say you're not helping around the house enough.
I feel like now I am, we are having sex and that's what you wanted, but I don't get any, help. And that could be, doesn't matter if you're a stay-at-home mom, doesn't matter if you're a full-time mom, doesn't matter if you're a part-time mom. It doesn't even matter if you're a mom. If you don't feel you're getting enough help around the house, you're not getting enough help around the house.
Exactly. So even if you haven't had kids yet, this is a major thing. And so what I've figured out between us is that her love language is serving, and if you don't know your love languages, please refer to our 100 series. That's in there. But her love language is serving. So if I technically want to put her in the mood, guess what I would do? I would serve her. And a lot of the things of me serving. Yeah, vacuum, sweep, clean the... She doesn't clean the bathrooms at all.
I clean the bathrooms.
Yeah, all right. She never washes the windows.
I never wash the windows.
So if you are a window washer, please come to my house.
Or you come to my house, you'll be like, yep, she doesn't clean it. You're right. I can barely see through that. My mother stayed the weekend while we were gone, and
so our house is perfectly clean now. Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
But you kind of get the idea is that sometimes one thing leads to another thing. So if you are cleaning, I don't know why women get turned on when men clean. Maybe it's because we never do it. It's a sight to be seen.
I think it's stereotypically, I'm just saying, it's stereotypically, not everyone, I'm not generalizing everyone, but the women stay home and clean, take care of the kids, the husband goes to work. That is not everyone, we understand that.
And even if the women work, she comes home and cleans and takes care of the kids, and I don't know what we do.
What do you do all day?
We just make the money.
I make money and I bring home. That should show you I love you. And that, we've talked to a lot of couples, that's exactly how it is. Yeah. I work all day. I am tired when I come home. I don't want to have to come home to a messy house. Well, we get that. Do you think we like living in a messy house? But sometimes the kids have run us ragged all day. And there's that...
And they're your kids.
Where you need to clean all day, you need to clean all day, blah, blah, blah. And the husband comes home to a disastrous house where it's not normally that way. And there's that comment, why is the house so messy? And she goes, well, remember when you said I don't do anything all day? Well, today I really didn't.
Yeah.
And that's what it looks like.
Maybe you could do that one time and then be like, okay, she does a lot.
And then you're sleeping in the doghouse.
Yeah.
You're on the couch.
Women usually never sleep in the doghouse. That's a men thing. I don't know why either. Kick us out of the bed.
They might, though.
All right.
But anyway, we have a really good solution for this.
So we talk
things through.
This is kind of an odd way to say it, but sit down and divide your household. We usually talk about coming together and doing things, but literally just create a list of just, here are the things you're responsible for, here are the things that I'm responsible for, and put those on the refrigerator. If you have kids, guess what? They get a list too.
And the older they are, the more they get.
Yeah! If you want YouTube, do the things on the list.
You
want to play video games,
you now have
do the
people
things
for
on the
these
list.
things.
Exactly. And we have great
Teach
friends
them to
that
be-
said that. This
Yeah.
is what we have people for. We made
Exactly.
them. People go do stuff.
Create decent, human, helpful, service-giving people in the future by getting your kids to help.
Right.
Whatever it is. And
We're in this
extend
weird
those
age
out.
where kids just do nothing around the house, and the adults, I didn't grow up that way. I had a list of chores, and I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do until my chores were done.
Yep.
We need to go back to that.
And it's okay to do that with your spouse as well. You know, okay, I'm not saying treat them like a kid. That's not what I'm saying.
Do you want to
But-
get some sexy time? Mow the lawn!
Yeah. I mean, you don't want things to be so transactional that there is no love.
We're not
connection.
talking about transaction.
Yeah, we are simply talking about splitting up chores in order to make everyone's life easier and that you do come together. Because then you're not arguing with each other. You're arguing with the list you both have agreed with.
Right, and so on the male perspective, usually if I want to get her in the mood, one of the things that I need to do is I need to clear her head. I need to clear the list out of her head. And if the list in her head is halfway cleaning up the house, and I can actually take care of some of that, then that eases her mind, because this is the biggest sexual organ, to have sex later. And it almost puts her in the mood because I'm doing something, I'm serving her. Well, if service is not your love language, almost. And so I remember that Everybody Loves Raymond episode where he starts vacuuming and she's like, I've never been more turned on in my entire life. So I'm not just harping on guys to actually do work around the house. What I am saying is that create a list. Have a conversation about what you guys can do in your schedules, in your busy life. If she's always running around off with the kids and you come home from work and you have a couple hours home alone, instead of playing video games or just sitting and chilling out, maybe do the dishes, do something rather than expecting one person to do it all. You did not marry a maid, and that goes in either direction.
Yes, right.
You did not marry a chef, and that goes in either direction. I'm not a good cook compared to Tammy. Tammy's an amazing chef, but she loves it when I cook because she just didn't have to. And I can cook really crappy food, but she'll love it because she didn't have to cook.
Oh, you cook well.
Kind of. Anyways, but you kind of get the idea. I have like 3 dishes that I've mastered, and that's what I cook every time I want to give her a break.
That's right.
And it's the same kind of thing. So if you both like to cook, then obviously Monday, Tuesday she cooks, Wednesday, Thursday he cooks, Friday go out on a date. Kind of something simple.
Yeah, and especially if you're newly married or you've been having this trouble for a really long time, either one, start with literally every detail.
Yeah.
Because the more you get in a habit with it, the easier it is. Like, I really don't mow the lawn. I will if I have to. I think we've lived here since 2002. I've mowed it maybe twice. You know, that really is his job, and we've kind of come to that understanding.
Yeah, she mowed it
I'll
when I had
ask
heart
him.
surgery, and then she mowed it again when I had another surgery.
Or you were gone, and I was like, I want to mow the lawn.
Yeah.
So,
Didn't do a good job.
But honestly, come up with stuff. I am responsible for, making dinner or coming up with dinner, buying dinner, whatever it is, at least 3 nights a week. And if that's all you can come up with for now, leave it at that.
Yeah.
And then at least you've got those 3 nights taken care of. I am responsible for vacuuming or sweeping the floor at least once a week, if I can get to it. And of course, there's room for grace. It's not like you said on this list that you would do it.
Yeah, who does that?
Okay, if they're not doing it every
This
single
person
week
is not
for
your
months,
child.
that's a problem.
Yeah.
If they've missed a week, they're gone, they're sick, things happen, kids are sick, whatever. You need to have some grace for that and go, honey, I will totally help you with that. And then maybe next week you can pick up one of my chores or we can swap on that. But it's not transactional. It is caring and loving and 2 people coming together that love each other and want to serve each other. And that means keeping your house put together. It can be very difficult and a huge adjustment when you have one person that might be a slob or a hoarder and one person who is a perfectionist and a neat freak. That's going to take a lot of extra work.
Maybe.
It doesn't mean it's impossible because opposites attract and you can really lean on each other, especially if there's 2 extremes. One can go one way and one could go the other way. But then you kind of learn like, okay, I need to let it go a little bit. I need to clean up my act a little bit.
Especially
But
if
that
you're
takes
the
time.
anal retentive
Don't give up.
OCD minimalist
Yeah.
and you've married a slob.
That just wants to
That's
hang
going
on
to
to
be
every
really,
nostalgic
really hard. A slob hoarder.
Yeah, it's
that's going to
not
be really
impossible.
hard to balance. But there is a balance.
There is a balance.
So,
Stick it out. It will not happen in a couple of
And it
months
will
of
happen
marriage.
overnight.
It won't happen in a year, probably. It might happen in 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time, but you have decided to marry this person.
I don't know if anyone's getting divorced because one person is messy and the other person is
I
clean.
bet you it has happened.
If you've done that, please leave a note in the comment and we can make fun of you. I'm just joking.
Oh my word. But no, this has been a huge problem. And it really comes down to you guys got to sit down, business-minded and go, we need to talk about this.
Right, and this is usually an issue for newly married, when you just have kids. When the kids are older and they can shake on chores, you need to do this again. When the kids move out, you need to do this again. And there are other solutions other than just a chore list. And I know this is kind of like you're just talking about extra work. I don't want to do any extra work. Look, if you have the opportunity to make some extra money and hire a maid, do that. You can get creative with this thing. Or if we had a Roomba, we called it Bob. I didn't like sweeping, so I bought a robot. Or I was gifted a robot. And I just turned Bob on, and Bob would go around sweeping vacuuming the house, and then once a week I'd vacuum versus every other day. Because when we have a dog, hair gets everywhere. So that's kind of a choice as well. You may want to spend $300 on a robot to do something versus if you want to do it. But again,
talk it out.
It's kind of this conversation and balance. So if you want it, I'm saying you can hire a maid. Hire us a maid.
Can I hire a maid?
Yes, you can hire a maid when you get 16 more clients. All right, so.
How expensive is this maid?
She does a lot. Look in your head.
What does she do?
How much is she servicing?
All right, we're past our 10 minutes.
Or how many times you need the maid, you know what I mean? Like if you need the maid to come in every day, that's going to be really expensive. If that's something you guys can afford, then that's a conversation to have. And we'll talk about finances next week.
A personal chef.
Yeah. If you need a personal chef,
hire
her. Don't hire me.
That's my favorite.
That's how that works. So again, sit down, write a list, and have a conversation about what you can and cannot do and be really honest with it. And again, every list that we're saying is evolutionary.
Yep.
What happens one week may not happen the next week, and that's kind of okay. What happens 6 months, look at the list again. And then if you're having an argument, again, you're arguing against the list. You're not arguing against one another. If you're kind of catching what we're doing here is that the more things that you argue with each other, then you start pointing fingers and blaming each other for things versus a list of saying, hey, you agreed to this on this list. I understand. It's just been a couple of weeks. Is everything okay? That's a really
great
different
way of
conversation.
Is everything okay?
Is everything okay?
We agreed to this. What's going on?
Instead of you jerk, you haven't mowed the lawn in a week. Well, I ripped my toe off and I can't walk. I haven't mowed the lawn because I can't walk.
I
just lost a toe.
Oh, that's really sad.
I was going to say toenail, but toe. Anyways, so if you have any questions, please comment.
Message us
on the video. You can message us on
Twitter,
our website.
Instagram, YouTube.
Yep. You can email me, tim@HaveAMarriage.com or tam@HaveAMarriage.com. We'll keep everything private and confidential. Worst case scenario, we'd probably ask you if we can use it as a topic, but we would still keep all of your information out of it. So thank you very much for listening and or watching. Have a good one.
We'll see you next week.